What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match review stream as we drew 1-1 at the London Stadium yesterday. A very frustrating evening in East London. You know the score by now. We're going to go into the match review, player ratings, 5 takeaways, and see how the internet did react to the game last night. But me and Sim were there in the depths of East London last night, and you know what? It was a really weird atmosphere last night at the London Stadium. Before we get into the game, I thought like it was from both sets of fans just a kind of like a drab affair, wasn't it? Yeah. No real noise coming from them lot, no real noise coming from us lot. It didn't really feel like a midweek under the lights London derby, did it?
Yeah, it was a bit subdued. Obviously we quieted them down very quickly with the goal we scored and all that, and then obviously 20 minutes in, they get the equaliser, and all of a sudden we're quieting down a bit, and it never really recovered from that early moment. And it was, I thought at the beginning of the game it looked like it was going to be a good atmosphere, and then it just never really got together. I don't think that stadium lends to a brilliant atmosphere anyway, to be honest. Obviously when West Ham are beating us a lot of the time, then it can get going a bit, and that never really happened yesterday. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange atmosphere. It wasn't really like a London derby, I felt.
But I remember even like walking to the stadium with you. Like usually when we're walking to that stadium, you know, we get spotted a lot by West Ham fans, and the noise is unbearable with irons and all that kind of stuff. But we didn't even really encounter that too much before the game. It was just a strange atmosphere all round. But anyway, let's get into the game. Great start from Tottenham. I thought we started probably how we all wanted us to start. You know, a game how we haven't started for a long time. We scored an early goal. We scored in the first half for the first time in God knows how long. And really, we just came out with a bit of fire in our bellies, didn't we? Bentancur was at the heart of things. He was getting on the half turn and creating spaces and creating opportunities for us, and that's how one of the goals came. Great link-up play with him, Udogie out wide to Timo Werner. Timo Werner, so a really nice shift and cross into the box, and Brennan Johnson was there in the middle of the box with a really nice run to put us 1-0 up. And you're thinking, all right, let's keep going. And I think we did keep going. For the first 20 minutes, first 25 minutes, we were well on top. Like I said, I thought Bentancur was the star of the show at that point in the game. And we just didn't capitalise on those chances that we were creating, essentially.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. Not only did we not capitalise, but then we go and concede a really stupid goal off Zuma's back, like against front of play, and it really kind of took the wind out of ourselves a bit. I felt that goal. I thought we really came out looking sharp, looking intense. The passing was quick. Bentancur was dribbling, causing havoc for the West Ham midfield. Our wide players were getting good positions. Sonny was causing a bit of trouble as well. It looked like, okay, we came out with a bit of a point to prove after, well, I wouldn't say a point to prove, but, you know, we only just about got over the line against Luton on the weekend, even though we should have won more comfortably. And it seemed as though we want to come out and like put out a statement, take the lead early, and really take this game by the scruff of the neck. And that was, I think, the intention going into this game. And you couldn't have asked for a better start than what we made. But then after a few half chances that we didn't take full advantage of, West Ham, I wouldn't even say slowly crept back in the game. They just basically got a goal out of nothing. The corner comes in, Zuma, it's just literally out of nothing. Like totally poor against trying to play.
Around, wasn't it?
Poor defending. Goes in off his back. It was like a ridiculous finish. And after that moment, it kind of took us aback. It halted our momentum. And then for the latter part of the half, we had moments, but we never really created. We didn't look as like intense as we did maybe in the opening exchanges for the game, and the half kind of petered out a bit for us, unfortunately. And as much as we had lots of possession, we couldn't really make it count. I don't think West Ham, again, in the first half they had the corner. Don't remember too much else. I remember there was a chance that kind of fell to Bowen as well in the box, which he snatched down and that went wide. But they didn't have too much in that first half. But Spurs didn't capitalise on the moment that they were really putting West Ham under pressure, and unfortunately that cost us in the end of the game.
Yeah, and that's the most kind of annoying thing about this game. Because of the way we started, you really thought we were going to go on and look, we did dominate the game, let's be honest. For 90 minutes we pretty much dominated it. West Ham had moments on the breakaway in fits and spurts they were kind of troubling us. But the most frustrating thing about it is that how dominant we were in the game, how much possession we had in the game, but how much we could actually hurt West Ham and force Fabianski into scaves, because we rarely did that throughout the game. I thought Timo Werner, it was a great assist in the first few minutes of the game, but I think he failed to threaten really West Ham for much of the game after that. I don't really remember much of what he did. And I think it's telling. For me, Vicario was probably our best player of the game, and we were the most dominant team in the game, like by far.
I don't know if he was our best player, but I do think he played well. He obviously made some crucial saves from the corner and from Antonio. A couple of times from Antonio, actually, he had to make some good saves. But yeah, I think when you look back at the game as a whole, I think we have to agree that West Ham definitely created the better chances just because of the nature of the game. They were sticking 9 men behind the ball pretty much for 90 minutes, making it so hard to break them down. I actually thought, and I think Ange actually said it after the game as well, which we said in our instant match, some of the football we played was actually really good. I thought some of our approach play was actually really impressive, and the way we played through West Ham up until the penalty area was quite encouraging. I thought the way Bentancur, Bissouma, Madison even at times with Porro and Udogie as well, how we were building up from the back was quite good. West Ham actually at times decided to really push up and press high from our goal kicks, and we were able to break that press really effectively. And the way we approached up until the final third was good stuff. It was like much better than like the Fulham game, as Andrew was saying as well. So that was positive. There was some really good stuff there, but once we get into the penalty area and West Ham really just so organised, so many players in front, behind the ball, like we're trying to break them down. We're trying to play these little interchanges in very, very tight spaces, and we just weren't able to do it. It's like we needed that extra yard or that extra bit of time on the ball, which West Ham just didn't afford us throughout the whole game, and that was their game plan, to stifle Tottenham and try hit us on the counter attack. You remember that big chance from Antonio, which was obviously a very big chance, but that came from what was a blatant foul from Paquetá on Madison, which I think everyone couldn't believe that was what wasn't given. Yeah. And then they create that
just
chance.
Barges him in the back. Like how can that not be given?
And it came directly from that, because the ball then falls to Ward-Prowse. He plays a very, very early ball over the top to Antonio, who obviously probably should have scored from that moment. But apart from that, they had that moment. They had the Mavropanos header from a corner, which would have been given offside because Antonio was interfering anyway. But I think at the time, obviously, it was a good save from Vicario.
Yeah, they did call it.
So apart from those two moments, I don't remember too many real attacks West Ham had. Apart from, I think in stoppage time it was a bit of a basketball game. We had a counter, they had a counter, and it could have gone either way in the last minute or so. But I think West Ham were stifled, and it's not so easy to do that because they've got some really good attacking players. I thought defensively, actually, we were pretty solid. Maybe I think from set pieces we looked a bit suspect, but I think in general, in open play, apart from that one Antonio chance, and also they had that one where Bentancur gave it away on the edge of the area, and obviously it was a shot by Antonio, which was a comfortable save at the end from Vicario anyway. We did stifle West Ham, and that was encouraging. And because you look back at the Fulham game, how many times they opened us up, and how many times they were able to counter us, and we weren't doing things correctly defensively. That could have been even more goals that game. So definitely better than that game defensively, but it's just a frustration that West Ham did a job on us defensively. We just could not break that door down, and that was really frustrating.
As much as they were stifled, we were stifled as well. Let's be honest about that. And the way I looked at it was very similar to the Man City Arsenal game. I don't think West Ham came with this into this game with the intention to win it. I think they came with the intention to stop us, and if they can nick a goal at the other end, then that would be great. And Spurs were the ones in the ascendancy, heavy possession, and just couldn't break down the low block, and it was very similar to that Man City Arsenal game.
And there was a few, especially before Richie came on, there was a few really frustrating moments where we get the ball out wide, let's say to Porro, and he's got a bit of time to look for a cross, but there's just no one in there. There was no one in the box, and he was forced to cut it back and again go for these little short interchanges. And the thing is, we were getting some joy in terms of what I mean by joy is we were actually finding players in the box with these touches, but unfortunately, you have to, in these situations, you have to be so perfect. Everything has to go 100% right. The weight of pass has to be 100%. The touch has to be 100%. And it just wasn't there. There was a couple of occasions where Porro pulls it back for Son, and if the weight of pass was just a little slower, Son could have taken it first time, but there was just a bit too much on the pass. I mean, he had to take a touch, and then once he takes a touch, that little yard of space he made for himself was clogged up. Then Son has a moment. He gets a touch. He passes it to Madison across the face of goal, and if the weight of pass again was on it, Madison could have taken that shot first time. Unfortunately, the weight of pass was a bit too much. It means Madison had to take a touch, and that yard is gone. And these kind of very, very fine margins all make the difference in this level, not just at this level, but in this kind of game where you have the opposition just crowding you, leaving absolutely no space. You have to be absolutely perfect. Your weight of pass has to be to the second, has to be perfect. Your touch has to be absolutely in front of you, so you can take that shot first time. And I don't know whether it was just tiredness or just, look, when we're playing against this opposition, we just weren't at our best, and those moments didn't fall for us, unfortunately. And I think those will come with time and with practice. Those things, when you're coming against a good team like West Ham, where you have to be perfect, those will come. But unfortunately, yesterday, we just weren't perfect.
No, we weren't. And when things aren't working for you like that, and when West Ham are stifling you like that, you need to come up with kind of different solutions. And I felt like we were just trying the same move over and over again, get it out wide, get it into the box. But I felt there were moments in there where Sonny was hesitating to shoot, Madison was hesitating to shoot. Like, why not, with these players that we have? I've said it time and time again this season. Why not try a different avenue to attack their goal? Take a shot from 25 yards, 20 yards. Test the keeper. You know, he's a sub-keeper coming in, Fabianski. Why not go and test that keeper from long-range shots? I don't get why we just keep going in this kind of semicircle where we're like keep testing, probing over and over again. And yes, it's right to do that and find avenues and try and pick the lock, but you've got to try other avenues as well.
I think we were. I really did. I thought we were trying different ways to get through them. They were just doing a really good job in terms of the shooting from distance. We were talking about, you know, we've got Son and Madison in the team, two of the best long range shooters in the league. And I agree with you. When given the opportunity, they should look. To take advantage of that skill a bit more often. I did think they tried on a few occasions to try and get the shot off. They just weren't able to get the angle, and I think they were being closed down very, very quickly. I think you have to give credit to West Ham. They were super solid, super hard to break down. And I did think we tried very different avenues. I thought we were going out wide a lot. I also thought we were trying to go through the centre a lot as well and play those little quick interchanges. And there were times where it was working. We got a few interchanges, but that, you know, when it got to the point, yeah, okay, we need to get a shot off, we just couldn't make it happen. And it's very frustrating. That happens sometimes. Look, that's why teams do a low block, because it's effective and it can work. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. When a team has no intention of trying to keep possession against you and trying to play any other way apart from set pieces and on the occasional counter-attack, it's going to be very, very difficult to get those moments. The frustrating thing for me is we did get that advantage. We got the lead, and at that point, okay, you've got the lead now, and so you have to either go for the kill or you have to draw them out so that they're not playing in that low block, so that they're leaving space in behind. And the frustrating thing is, once we had that advantage, we then gave it up really unnecessarily with a stupid goal from a corner against run of play.
So quick as well, so quick. And we gave away 9 corners on the day against this West Ham team. And I felt like we just kept giving away really silly corners as well. And when you've got a team as bad as defending set pieces as we are, and how good of attacking set pieces of West Ham are, you know, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah. West Ham are so effective, and we nearly conceded a second one as well in that second half if it wasn't for the offside. So we know that was something vulnerable. I was looking at the stats. Five of our last 10 games we've conceded goals from corners now, and that is now a pattern. I think anyone could look at that, and I think that's something we've been complaining about definitely recently. You know, Ange has been put to him about the set piece coach. Are we suffering from not having one? Ange said he doesn't hire a specific set piece coach because he believes set pieces shouldn't be something separate from our overall game, whatever that means. And now we're in a position where we can. One every 2 games, we're conceding goal from corners, and we're looking vulnerable. I think we've conceded over 9 goals from 9 expected goals now from corners this season. So it's definitely a big vulnerability. And I don't know whether it's Ange being stubborn or it is something that will improve in time. But at the moment, it's something that even we pointed out in pre-season. You know, remember that West Ham game in pre-season? I think we conceded a goal from a corner, and Ange was saying at the time, you know, he gave the team a bit of a pass because he'd only just come in, and it's something that they hadn't really worked on that much because they're so they're more interested in working their in possession play, and that's, you know, what they got to build from. But we're now in April, and it's still a problem.
Yeah.
So that is something that Ange has to be held responsible for.
Absolutely. I don't criticise Ange too much, but I think that this is something that he needs to take criticism on, because he clearly needs some sort of a helping hand to help us, not only just on defensive set pieces, but the attacking set pieces as well. I don't think we've been good enough recently. So we need to be more of a threat from attacking set pieces. We need to be more solid from defensive set pieces. All you do need to do is go look at Arsenal and go look at how they've implemented set pieces under their set piece coach. I mean, they're brilliant at defending and attacking set pieces, and you've got to give so much credit to this set piece coach that they've hired here. And, you know, it did get better for us under Gianni Vio when we had him. He's gone now, and it seems to have regressed again. So we need to sort out this situation where we don't have a set piece coach, because it's clearly hindering us in both facets of the game. But in terms of individual performances yesterday, let's talk about Mickey van der Ven first and foremost. And with Mickey, I thought he had a really strong game for the most part, but there were some kind of worrying moments as well from Mickey, in my opinion. We said after the game how good he was, and he was. I think he was a massive reason why West Ham couldn't spring and counter on us effectively throughout the game. But that moment where you're talking about where Antonio goes one-on-one with Vicario, you know, that's poor from Mickey van der Ven. He kind of just slips or something. I don't know what happens there. And Antonio's one-on-one with the keeper, and Vicario makes a good save. I did feel as well like sometimes playing out the back, Mickey's passing wasn't exactly spot on.
Yeah, it's not as good as Romero's. I don't think he gave the ball away too many times, but I think obviously Romero, when he passes it forward, he does it like with a purpose. I feel like he does it very progressively into a player who looks like to get forward. I feel like Mickey just plays it a lot safer, but that's been something I've always had about him. In terms of that moment that you're talking about, the annoying thing is he actually gets ahead of Antonio. He gets back, and you're thinking, okay, Mickey's got it. And I don't know what happens. When I originally saw it, I thought he got fouled. I thought Antonio pulled him back, and the referee just didn't give it. On looking at it back, I think he just slips, or he just, I don't know what, lost his footing somehow, and Antonio obviously got that chance and obviously should have scored. That doesn't happen often with Mickey. When he gets back in those positions, usually that's it, the game is done. And by and large yesterday, in those situations, he absolutely commanded them. So I do think he had a very good game, but obviously that moment he'll look back on and be annoyed that whatever happened in that moment. I think he was complaining that he got fouled, but I looked back at it, I don't think he was.
It wasn't a foul.
I don't think it was a foul. I think he just, I don't know, maybe he just got out-muscled, and that is just, you know, Antonio can do that to anyone, to be honest. He's a very, very strong attacker, one of the strongest attackers in the league. I think you have to say Mikel Antonio in those kind of positions. So it did happen. Hopefully it won't happen again, but I also have to give him credit because he did get back in the position overall, because Antonio started well ahead of him, and he was able to get back there and actually get ahead of him. So most centre-backs probably wouldn't have even got there, to be honest, to Antonio in that situation. So I'm not going to criticise him too much for it. I think overall he had a very good game. And the reason, look, West Ham are a very good counter-attacking team with Kudus, Bowen and Antonio. They've got some of the best counter-attacking players in the league, especially in Bowen. And the reason why Bowen, by and large, wasn't able to get, I don't think Bowen had a shot all game, and I think it's because how effective Mickey van der Ven was in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 9 times out of 10, he's mopping those up. It was just that one time, and if that goal goes in, we're probably sitting here blaming van der Ven the next day for losing the game.
I'm not blaming him. It's going to be obviously good if that goes in. It goes down as a mistake, but he's never made a mistake like that in the whole season. It will just be a one-off kind of thing, in my opinion. So it's not going to be something I'm going to be looking at thinking, is there a pattern here? I'm just thinking that can happen in any game, really. And obviously I'll be annoyed, but it's not something I'm going to be looking at thinking it's something to worry about.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but, you got to call it what it is on the game. 9 times out of 10, he was doing those kind of runs, those recovery runs time and time again, and every time it was perfect. And it was just that one time he gets back, he slips, and if they score, it does go down to his error. But look, I don't think it takes away from the really good game they did have, but it's just something to note within the game. Rodrigo Bentancur, let's talk about him, because I felt in the first 20 minutes he was unplayable. He really was. He came back. We saw he was getting the ball on the half turn. He was creating time and time again. And I don't know what happened to him after that, because after that first 20 minutes, he just kept giving the ball away really sloppily. A chance came from his bad pass in the midfield. I think it was Lucas Paquetá, I think, had a chance, if I remember correctly. And a few times he was misplacing quite a few passes. And I felt for the first 20 minutes, he was literally probably the best player on the pitch. And then after that, I think he regressed quite quickly.
I don't think he was as bad as you're saying in the rest of the game, but he did give the ball away in some worrying moments, and I think he'll be frustrated with those, because that's not what Bentancur is all about. He's usually got very good passing ability. We know that. I thought he was really probably the best player on the pitch for those opening exchanges, and I was really excited about him. I thought he was. I thought this guy, okay, he's back now. I thought he had a great cameo, obviously, last game when he came on. I thought he was carrying that on in this game, and I was so impressed. But yeah, you are right. His performance definitely did drop off from what it was in the first 20 minutes. But I did still feel like there was some good stuff, even in the second half when he was playing. He was playing the ball forward. I thought what he was doing really well is from their goal kicks. He was winning some really good aerial challenges, making sure that Tottenham sustained the pressure. I thought his dribbling was really good as well. I thought they really struggled to get the ball off him. There were some sloppy passes in there, especially that one when he passed it across the face of goal and he gave it straight to I think it was Ward-Prowse, and I think Antonio had a shot. So he'll be frustrated with that moment. I thought he was rightly taken off. I think obviously we probably needed that at that point with 20 minutes to go, a bit more energy anyway. I don't think he was taken off because he was playing badly. I think it was more just get a bit more energy in those last 20 minutes. But I think it was positive overall for me, for Bentancur, apart from those moments. I think he'll. It's not something I associate with Bentancur with those sloppy passes in those dangerous positions. I know in weeks gone by, I think, what was it, the Brighton game, he gave the ball away on the edge of the box and stuff like that. So it has happened recently a few times. But I think overall, from what I saw from Bentancur, for me, he's getting better. And I'm excited to see how he's going to end the season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the first 20 minutes was a massive step in the right direction for Rodrigo, but I was quite frustrated with him by the time he came off with those sloppy passes, and I felt like Paquetá was growing in influence a little bit, and that was due to maybe the regression that Bentancur was showing in the game. James Madison, I felt another poor display from him, to be fair. Look, as you said in the post-match last night, he was growing in influence by the time he got taken off, and maybe if he would have stayed on the pitch, he could have created something for us in those last 15 minutes when maybe Kulusevski was on the pitch. But I thought first half and maybe first period of the second half, I thought it was fairly poor from Madison.
Well, look, when you have a player like Madison on the pitch and he hasn't had any shots on target and he hasn't, had many chances created, you're always going to say that he hasn't had a good game, because that's his best qualities. And if he's not showing that off, then you're going to turn around. Look, of course, you're going to say he hasn't had a great game, because that is when Madison is at his best, when he's doing those kind of things. I did think he was picking up some really good positions, and I thought in general when we were in the middle third, he was actually doing some really good things, especially in our build-up play, allowing us to progress up the pitch. And he was trying to find different solutions in the final third. He was trying to break down that door. It was very, very difficult for him, like it was for everyone, to get any joy from that West Ham defence, especially with 9 men behind the ball. Every time he got anywhere near the penalty area, he was closed down and he had 2 or 3 men around him. He had a couple of times where he tried to get shots off, but it got blocked on both occasions. And he'll be frustrated with that, I'm sure. I actually don't think, in general, again, I thought it was similar to Luton. I don't think when he was on the ball or anything, he was bad. Like, I don't think he did anything bad. Like, he wasn't giving the ball away sloppily. He wasn't having bad touches. Like, I thought he looked good when he was on the ball. He looked sharp. they just made it very, very difficult for him. And on this occasion, he couldn't get the better of him. And as you say, I thought he was actually growing in the game, and he had that really bad moment where he, right on the edge of the box, he's about to pull the trigger, and Paquetá bundles him over. Cynical foul. I couldn't believe the referee didn't give a free kick, and obviously West Ham created a chance from that. I thought there was a few occasions where he was actually getting in really good spaces on the half turn, really starting to run at West Ham and cause them problems. And then he would give the ball out wide and the move would break down. I don't think he was bad, like, individually, but when you come off when he comes off and he hasn't created any chances or had any, has any good chances himself to score, then you're not going to be satisfied, because that's what Madison's all about.
Yeah, but it's a clear. I mean, since he's come back from his injury, he's been back a while now, and it's a clear for me drop off since the first 10 games of the season. You know, in those first 10 games before he got the injury, or 8 games, or however long it was, he was dominating games. He was dictating the tempo of the game. He was the hub of everything. He was running games essentially all by himself at times, and he's just not doing it to that same level.
I still think he is. Not to that same level, but I still think he's doing all those things. I still think he's actually playing well. I don't think he played that badly yesterday.
What, you're saying to me it's not a drop off in the first 10
I am saying
games,
it's a drop off, but I'm saying he's still doing those things you're talking about. I think that as a team, we're not at that, for some reason or another. We're not at that domination level that we were in those first 10 games, where we were just batting teams away. Or to be fair, even those first 10 games, we had to struggle in some of them as well. But obviously, we're not at that level right now. I think that's clear. I'm from what I'm seeing from Madison, honestly, I think at the moment, he's still dropping deep, dictating the play. I still think his passing game is still pretty good. In the final third, he's not being as effective. I think we can all agree on that. But I'm not seeing a Madison at the moment struggling to impact our build-up or impact games. I'm definitely seeing a Madison at the moment struggling to get those goal contributions that we know he can get for sure. Although he has had a few since he's come back from injury, not to the level though as he was pre-injury. But I think he's actually not playing too badly. I really believe that. I think, again, when you come off the pitch and he hasn't had those goal contribution moments, or those moments in the final third, people think he's had a bad game. But I think in our general play, I still think he's doing a lot of good things. And that's what I'm seeing from James Madison. I just think if he keeps playing, those moments will come for him. When you got a game like yesterday, it's very, very difficult. And it didn't happen for him yesterday, unfortunately. But I still think I don't think there's been... People come away from the past few games and see Madison not having goal contributions and think there's been a massive drop on his performance. And I do think he's not been as good, but I don't think he's been like completely terrible like people are suggesting. I think he's not been as good as he was before, and I want to see him get back to those levels, but I'm still seeing a lot of good stuff from Madison, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you're looking at the last 3 games. This game against West Ham, the game against Luton, and the game against Fulham, right? I don't think any of these 3 games you can say he's come off and played really well. I think that's just reality. You know, you've got to call a spade a spade. Yeah, I love James Madison. I love what he brings to the team. But he's nowhere near his top form at the moment. I don't think he's anywhere near that.
He's not near his top form, because when he is, he's one of the best players in the league. But, okay, but when he's not on his top form, he's still providing something for the team, in my opinion, like something in general play. He's still doing a lot of good things, in my opinion. So I still see what he's adding to the team. I want to see him be more effective in the final third. I know he can do it. We all know Madison can do that. But I'm still seeing a lot of good stuff for me from Madison. I think from the discourse I'm reading on social media, people are saying there needs to be a discussion about him, all these kind of things. I'm not at that stage yet, in my opinion. That's just what I'm saying.
No, look, I wouldn't drop him out the team or anything, but, you know, we still need to have that discussion in terms of he needs to improve, and he does need to improve, in my opinion. That's just the reality. A player who else has come under a lot of stick this season since those first games that we talked about is Yves Bissouma, who I thought had a much better display last night than he has done in recent weeks. He was getting the ball, particularly in the second half, and driving forward with it. He was mopping up everything that came in the middle of the park as well. I thought it was a really positive display for Yves.
Yeah, and said it himself yesterday. He thought Bissouma was outstanding. I think we said it in our instant match reaction. I thought it was a much better display. He looked a lot more confident. He was striding on the ball a lot more confidently as well. And what I loved about him was, there are times where he's running back towards his own goal and he's got a man chasing him down, but he was confident enough to kind of stride away from them, not just make a simple pass, but actually, dribble away from them and then find a teammate in those going forward phases. And he looked a lot more confident. I thought defensively he was a big part of why West Ham were nullified as well. Paquetá grew in a bit of influence at times, but I thought by and large Bissouma dealt with him fairly effectively, and I thought it was a really, really good performance from him. And hopefully he carries on in this kind of vein, because I thought it was much better than it has been in recent weeks.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I really enjoyed that Bissouma performance. Probably his best display, I think, since coming back from the AFCON at least. But anyway, Brennan Johnson getting another goal contribution yesterday. It's just like we see these goals time and time again now with Brennan, where he makes that run into the far. Well, this time it was actually towards the centre of the goal. Finds himself a nice open goal, and that brings him out to more goal contributions this season than James Madison. Which I think is unbelievable.
Well, he's had a lot more time on the pitch, hasn't he? Because Madison missed 3 months. But Brennan, I think, 6 goal contributions now in his past 6 games. So he's really coming into form. I thought there were times as well. What I liked about Brennan was he was running down the byline, but actually when he had the opportunity, it didn't quite come off for him during the game. But there was a few occasions where he actually noticed a bit of space centrally, and he actually went for it dribbling wise, and he actually attacked that space and didn't quite make it on a couple of occasions. He got stopped right at the last minute when he was about to pull off a shot and things like that. But I'm really happy that he's confident enough to try those different things and try different avenues with his running, rather than just trying to go down the byline all the time and be a bit predictable. When he notices a bit of space centrally, actually drive for it and go for it. And I think he did that on a few occasions. Obviously, he got the goal. I actually thought as well there was a couple of occasions where he did whip a few good balls across the face of goal, and no one was really gambling, and no one kind of took the initiative to get on the end of them. That was really frustrating, because I thought there was some good stuff there. Obviously, there were some occasions as well where he was crowded out and he wasn't able to affect it. But I think by and large, it was another positive display from him. And it was great him actually impacting the game from the start, because that's something we've a lot of people have criticised him for, only really doing well off the bench. But I thought another confident display, and take it to 12 goal contributions now this season. And as I say, 6 in his last 6 games. He's in great form, and I'm really, really happy for him, because he's really starting to perform consistently now.
Yeah, 5 goals, 7 assists this season, 8 if you add the own goal from last week as well. So Brennan is really growing in this Spurs shirt, and I felt last night, in terms of our attacking players, if anything was going to happen, it was probably going to come through him, because I thought he was our most dangerous attacker on the day for sure. But look, it's a really frustrating night last night at the London Stadium. We did draw 1-1. We did deserve to win the game, I thought. Maybe deserve to win the game is a bit too much, but we were the team, you could see that we're a much better team on the day. We were the ones in the ascendancy. We were the one controlling the game. But we just needed to create more. That's just the Achilles heel. That was the Achilles heel last night.
Yeah, I think the draw was a fair result, because I think you have to give credit to West Ham. They defended very well, and that they deserve credit for that. We did try different avenues of trying to get through them, and we just weren't able to do it. So I think from that point of view, you do have to give West Ham credit for how they defended. From the football that we did play, I think there is more positives to take than a lot of people are suggesting. I think, yes, we struggled to create the level of chances that we would hope to create in this kind of game, or in any game, to be honest, the way we want to go forward with Ange Postecoglou, the football that we're playing. But I did see some really good football from our approach play. I did see some really good build-up play from Spurs. I saw some really good control. The way we controlled the game compared to our last away game against Fulham was a lot more positive on that front. So there were some good things about it. Obviously, then, Ange will not be happy with the level of chances we created, and obviously neither will Spurs fans, and that's understandable, because you don't want to go through a game like this in an opportunity where I felt like West Ham were getting tired as well. So I did feel like it was a bit of an opportunity to take the game to them and win that game. So unfortunately that didn't happen, but I thought there was a lot more positives than people suggesting in terms of the football that we played and the control we had, and as Ange said, the maturity we showed in a lot of facets of that game was a lot better. So I'm not saying it was a great performance because it wasn't. I thought a draw was a fair result, but I don't think it was a performance, in my opinion, that suggests we're not going in the right direction.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, it's always a hard game going to the London Stadium, playing against West Ham away. We haven't won there since 2018 under Jose Mourinho in his first game in charge. So you know how hard this game is for Spurs to go to. They always try their hardest against Spurs than they do against anyone else in this league. So having said that, 1-1 is not the most terrible result to take away from the London Stadium. But I just felt like with the amount of possession and control we had in the game, to not win this game is a bit of a kick in the teeth, just because of the opportunity that could be missed in this game with Villa playing Man City this week. It's just, I think it could be a vital missed opportunity, but we'll see how the rest of the league pans out. But I guess if Man City do lose tonight, or is it tonight or tomorrow? Tonight, then I guess it's 1 point gained.
Yeah, and let's just hope that they can do us a favour. Obviously, Villa without Watkins, without McGinn, so it's going to be very tough for them to get anything at the Etihad. If they do, fair play to them, and this will be a missed opportunity for Spurs. But if Man City win, then we go into the weekend having gained a point in them, and then the pressure will be on them. So
and it swings into our hands as well, because it will be 2 points behind with the game in hand.
So I think it's still all to play for, and I'm still very confident of getting top 4.
All right, that is our match review for the 1-1 frustrating draw with West Ham last night. Let's go into our player rating. Let's start off with Big Vic. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8, and I thought he was vital to clinging on to that point as well last night. Really good saves. One from Antonio for the 1-on-1. Free kick as well from Ward-Prowse. I actually haven't seen that free kick back but when I was watching it in the stands, I mean, it looked like an unbelievable save. And I felt as well in the second half, particularly when they had corners, he hit a few nice moments where punching out those corners where we know how dangerous they are and how poor we are at defending them. So he did well to relieve the pressure at times. Yeah,
there has been some suggestion that he could have done better with the goal we conceded, but I watched it back. I don't know what more I don't know what really he could do unless he really comes for that cross. I don't know if he could have. He obviously made some crucial saves from Antonio, from Ward-Prowse, from Antonio from the 1-on-1. In terms of the finishing from West Ham, I think they were fairly comfortable saves, apart from obviously the one from Antonio, which was in a 1-on-1 situation, but obviously it was a really poor finish from Antonio as well. So I think all the saves he made, I don't think any of them were massively above routine, but he still had to make them, and he was crucial in all those facets. Did what he was asked to do to a really high standard. But yeah, still from corners, he looked good from a lot of them where he was able to punch, but also the 2 chances we did concede, he didn't look fantastic, albeit he was put under pressure. So I thought all in all, it was a pretty good day for Big Vic.
Pedro Porro up next, 7s all round for Pedro. I thought defensively he was absolutely brilliant, Pedro Porro, yesterday. He stifled anything that came down that side, countless amount of tackles and interceptions down that side as well. I just felt like going forward he could have impacted the play a bit more, to be fair, but from a defensive standpoint I was really happy with him.
Yeah, I think the stat reads, he got into positions to cross 7 times and couldn't find any accurate crosses. Now, whether that's his fault or whether we didn't have a presence in the box, albeit that'll be frustrating to him. I thought he did deal with Kudus really well. There were a number of times he was able to pinch the ball off him. Kudus is a very, very good dribbler, and I thought he dealt with him very effectively. I think Kudus was fairly well nullified, even though he threatened to impact the game. I thought Porro dealt with him, and I thought he did get forward well, and he got into really good positions, but unfortunately West Ham was too difficult to find any chances. So he'll be annoyed that when he got into those positions he couldn't be more effective. But I thought all in all it was a pretty positive game from Porro.
Yeah. Cuti Romero up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I thought it actually was a really good display from Romero last night. He was stepping into midfield. He was trying to start the attacks. He was dictating from the back as well. Countless amount of block shots. I think 2 or 3 block shots from Cuti Romero last night. And I just felt he handled Antonio really well for the most part. What I was a bit frustrated with Cuti Romero was the amount of time it takes him to pass the ball and get the ball moving. A lot of the times he just gets the ball and he just delays and delays and delays and delays. Maybe it's due to his teammates not moving around and creating the space for him, but I just felt like it took us quite a while to play that ball out the back sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if it was instruction because that's something I've pointed out Van de Ven does sometimes as well. So I don't know whether it's just he takes a beat just to allow players to get in position before we get going or stuff like that, or is it a case of we should be playing a lot quicker? I'm not 100% sure, but I did think when he did release the ball, he did it with high quality and he played some really, really nice passes. I thought defensively he was really strong as well. As you say, apart from that one chance over the top from Antonio, they didn't create too much from open play. So I thought all in all, really positive display from Romero, and he tried to force some attacking situations. Didn't quite happen, but I thought he had a really great game overall.
Yeah, Mickey van der Ven up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Again, another really top display from Mickey van der Ven. I thought he was mopping up so well. Every time West Ham looked like they were on the counter, looked like they were through on goal, up steps Mickey van der Ven. And he's just there in a flash. And without even a hesitation, he just goes and nicks the ball off you. So many last-ditch challenges, which I thought were brilliant. It was his mistake that led to Antonio going one-on-one with the keeper where he slips, which was unfortunate for him. And if I'm being really harsh, I'll say his defending from the corner as well. Maybe he could have jumped a bit earlier. It seems like he jumped way too late, and maybe he could have got it, but maybe that's just really harsh.
Yeah, I have to watch the cornerback. I wasn't sure if that was on him, but I thought he was pretty exceptional overall from Van der Ven. I thought a big reason why West Ham weren't able to hurt us on the counter in behind, whether that was through Bowen or Antonio, was because Van der Ven was just there every single time to make sure that they're not getting in behind all that space. I think his pace really helped us. He had that moment with Antonio, unfortunately. I think he did slip, and that nearly did cost us. But other than that, and that was even more unfortunate because he did get back in position at the time and did really well to get ahead of Antonio, and then unfortunately slipped. So that can happen sometimes. I thought it was a pretty good display yet again from Van der Ven, and really great to have him back in the team.
Yeah. Next up, Destiny Udogie. 7s all round for Destiny. Again, I thought defensively, for the most part, he was really good. The number of duels, I think he won 7 out of his 10 duels last night. Countless amount of tackles. He was, as well, being really aggressive. They had to foul him to really do anything against him. So I thought he was really good, and he was involved in the build-up to our goal as well. But apart from the build-up to our goal, I thought he could have done a bit more going forward, and he didn't really link up with Werner too much.
Yeah, there were a few occasions they did link up, but without really, obviously, getting into positions where they could hurt West Ham, which is unfortunate. I thought Bowen, by and large, was nullified as well. He did have an influence of the game, but it was more from set pieces than it was from open play. So I'm not going to put that on Destiny. I thought Destiny actually handled him pretty well in open play, and there was a few occasions where he was where Bowen was running at him, but he just couldn't get past Destiny. And as well, Destiny did his trademark gallops up the pitch, which West Ham also struggled to deal with as well. And those are really, really effective when we're trying to get towards West Ham's penalty box. And that's why a lot of the time in the build-up we were very, very effective, but unfortunately couldn't make it pay. But I did think Udogie had a pretty good game.
Yeah, Yves Bissouma up next. Him gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. I see a bit of a theme going on with these ratings, or maybe every ratings to be fair. But I actually thought Bissouma was really good, and best performance in a while for Yves Bissouma. He was mopping up everything in the middle of the park. It was really hard for West Ham to really assert their dominance in the midfield, and I thought Bissouma was a key factor to that. And even as the game wore on, you could see the confidence starting to reap through him, and he started driving forward and becoming maybe not the Bissouma of those first 8 games, but definitely a massive step in the right direction, and glimpses of that old Bissouma coming through in this game. Yeah,
and I think it was a really positive display from Bissouma, looking a lot more confident, taking a bit more risk and actually getting the reward for that. I thought West Ham struggled to get past him and deal with him. I think defensively in the transitions it was really, really good, and I think we actually pressed really well, and I think Bissouma was marshalling that really effectively. So yeah, really good display from Bissouma, and one of our better players on the day.
Rodrigo Bentancur up next. 6s all round for Rodri, and look, first 15-20 minutes he was probably the best player on the pitch. The way he was getting the ball on the half turn, involved in the goal, involved in everything good Spurs were doing going forward in the first 15 or so minutes. But after that, I just felt like he did diminish in the game. I thought Paquetá was growing in influence, and I thought Bentancur was probably a big reason for that. And his misplaced passes just really frustrated me and played us into massive trouble, and we were lucky that they didn't score from any of them.
Yeah, I think there was one obviously glaring one which is on the edge of the area. I think, but by and large, I thought he had a pretty good game, actually. I thought he was exceptional in those first 20 minutes. They couldn't live with him, with his dribbling ability, breaking their press, charging forward. Obviously, he was heavily involved in the build-up to the opening goal as well. And he was looking like he was going to be one of those performances where he announces himself back into form. Didn't quite work out like that way, unfortunately, for the rest of the game. I still think he did more good than bad, but obviously the bad was pretty glaring, and that he's got to be called out for that. It was some really sloppy play, which could have, on a different day, hurt us a lot more. I still think he was doing some really good stuff, especially defensively. I thought he was pressing really effectively, winning the ball back in some really good positions for us. And I thought West Ham, by and large, didn't like playing against him. But unfortunately, the performance got marred by a few sloppy moments, which could have been costly.
Yeah. James Madison up next. Sims gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I thought off the ball, again, he put in a good display, you know, dropping deep, winning the ball back. But then when asked to really provide that incisive cutting edge, create those chances, I don't think he did enough yesterday in the game, and we were begging out for someone to try and pick the lot, try take a shot, and he failed to do that. Got taken off. Would I say rightly so? Maybe if he got taken off maybe 15 minutes before that, it probably would be rightly so, but I felt like in those last 10 minutes before he got taken off, he was growing into the game, and if anything could have happened, maybe it could have happened through him, and in the gaps that started to appear in the last 10 minutes, he probably would have been vital for us to score that goal later on and grab that winner. So maybe it was a bit unfortunate he was taken off, but I think for the most part that he was on the pitch, he didn't provide enough for us going forward.
Again, I think like a lot of the players on the pitch, I think he was doing a lot of good stuff before the final third. When it came to trying to use Madison's best assets, which is, you know, his ability, his final passing ability, his shooting ability. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the best out of those assets yesterday, and that is obviously what he's going to be judged on. I do think, in general, he did some really good things, especially in the build-up play. I thought he was getting into those pockets of space really effectively and trying to find little different ways of ingenuity to break down that West Ham backline and find those moments of quality. But whenever he did get a shot off, he was blocked and charged down. Whenever he did try to find those assists, it was really hard to break down that West Ham backline. So I feel for him. I think it was a very difficult game, but I did think in general there was a lot of good stuff in the build-up play. But obviously, when a player like Madison comes off the game without really impacting stuff in the final third, that's what he's going to be judged on.
Brennan Johnson up next, 7s all round. Started the game as, you know, he's been playing over recent weeks. Got that goal, really good run into the box, and Timo Werner found him in the middle there. And obviously we were 1-0 up after the first few minutes. I felt like if anything good was going to come through Spurs, it was going to come through Brennan Johnson. I felt like he was the brightest spark out of our attacking trio. He got a few good balls in the box, but no one was there to really gamble and put the ball in the back of the net or connect with it at all. So I was happy with Brennan Johnson's performance, but you know, maybe the other attacking players just weren't on his wavelength, or maybe it's just the West Ham low block was just stifling us a bit too much. Yeah, and these are the kind of games where you think Johnson's going to struggle even more because the space is restricted, and that's where he likes to play, with a lot of space in front of him, running at players. So it was always going to be a difficult day for Johnson, but I actually thought he coped with it fairly well. I actually thought as well he was confident enough to not just drive down the byline, but also try and dribble in the central areas when he can, trying to find pocket of space. And unfortunately, he'd got a bit of joy, but didn't quite come off for him when it came to the final moments to get a shot off or play that final pass. He was finally crowded out, but at least he had the confidence to try, and it nearly paid off. So I want to see him do more of that going forward. I did think there was some quality stuff from him, which unfortunately his teammates didn't take benefit from, which was a shame. But I was pretty happy with Brendan actually overall. Yeah. Timo Werner up next, 6 all round from us. Obviously that really brilliant assist in the first few minutes of the game for Brennan Johnson, like I spoke about before. But apart from that, I just was quite frustrated with him. He didn't get on the ball, he didn't strike his stuff, he didn't put balls into the box. I mean, I failed to see what he really did apart from that assist in the first few minutes. Yeah, and I think he had opportunities to drive at the defender, which Brennan was taking up, but Timo seemed reluctant to at times, especially when he had space in front of him on a few occasions.
I think he did cause them a bit of trouble at times, but not enough to really say that he had a good game. Obviously, it was a really good assist, and it was a classic Timo Werner assist underhand. You know, that classic cut into on his right and then checking back onto his left and across the face of goal. And he's clearly able to do that to a pretty good standard. I think that's his third assist like that, or fourth assist, I would say, this season. So that's really good from Timo, but need to see it on more than one occasion during a game, and it's unfortunate that it came so early and then for the rest of the game wasn't able to impact it in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the rating, I gave him 6. If he doesn't get that assist in the first few minutes, I'm probably giving him a 5 or a 4. So I think that assist did save him in terms of the ratings. Last but not least of the starting lineup, Heung-min Son, 5s all round for us, for Sonny. And it was just a really frustrating day for Sonny. He was like double marked every time he got the ball, every time West Ham players just charging towards him. He found it really hard to create those spaces for him, because there was just there was no space whatsoever in those areas of the pitch. So I did feel like maybe that did highlight the problems that we do have with Sonny against the low block, and maybe a physical presence in the box would have done a bit better for us, so we can go for other avenues to attack the ball, maybe float crosses in, so we can go for the headers and stuff like that, which you just can't do when Heung-min Son's up against the low block. So it did stifle us a little bit. It wasn't for the want of trying, because he was trying throughout the game really hard, but it was just he was up against really physical defenders, and so many of them as well. So it was just an uphill battle for Heung-min Son from the beginning. Yeah,
I think one of those days was just a very difficult day for Sonny, unfortunately. I did think there were some occasions where he's got the ball in those tight spaces, and he's actually doing some really good work finding a teammate in those tight spaces, but we just couldn't, again, take advantage of it, because whenever it got to the moment to pull the trigger, he was being blocked. I felt like they definitely had a concerted effort to make sure that Son wasn't able to get a shot off. Whenever he got the ball, they were crowding him out, 2-3 players at a time, and that was very, very difficult for Sonny to deal with. There was a couple of occasions as well where he did shape to shoot from outside the box, but again was closed down and decided against it. Obviously, when he comes off the game and he's not been so effective, the discourse is going to be about whether he should be playing number 9 in these kind of games. And I think it's a fair conversation, because he did struggle to impact the game. And Zuma, whenever it was a physical battle between those two, Son did come off second best. So, sorry, that was unfortunate. But I do think on another day, if his touch was a bit better on a couple of occasions, he might have been able to get a shot off. But maybe, I don't know, whether it was fatigue or he was just crowded out. He wasn't able to impact the game in the way that we know he can.
Yeah, I mean, I have said it many a time. We've had all these conversations on panel shows and stuff like that, where I think we're in agreement that Son is the best number 9 at this football club. But however, he is also the best left winger at this football club too. So when we come up against teams, what you're going to know, what you're going to get with West Ham, you're going to get a low block, and you're going to get a really physical game. So maybe in these kind of games, we should be playing Son out on the left, and maybe Richarlison should have started the game to give us a bit more of a physical presence in the box. But that's not what happened, so it is what it is. But let's move on to our substitutes. We've got 2 players to rate. First up is Pape Matar Sarr, 6s all round for Pape. I thought he came on and gave us a bit more energy in the midfield when we needed it, but in terms of trying to drive the team forward, I don't think there was enough in there.
Yeah, I think he maintained the control for us. I think he was doing some good. He was basically doing a lot of the good work Bentancur was doing without sloppy passes, essentially, in that period. I think it was a pretty good cameo from him, but unfortunately couldn't find their moment even with him on the pitch.
Yeah, and last but not least of the playing staff is Dejan Kulusevski. I think for the first time this season, Sim's rated him lower than me, but Sim gave him a 4, I gave him a 5, and he was very frustrating. He came in on the middle, then moved out onto the right-hand side after Brennan Johnson got taken off, and I just felt like every time he got the ball was just really frustrating. He couldn't make anything happen, apart from in that last minute when Destiny Udogie had that chance. He put in a nice cross that fell to Lo Celso, and Lo Celso played a really nice ball back to Udogie. But apart from that moment, he just left you feeling really frustrated every time he got the ball.
Yeah, obviously everyone remembers that counter-attack which he screwed up right at the end, and that was really, really poor decision-making from Decky. We had a really good opportunity at that moment. Maybe if he could hang on to the ball a bit longer, not panic like he did, and try and find Richarlison in the back post, maybe wait for the more runs from Son and I think the player supporting, there could have been an opportunity there. So that kind of lack of composure from Decky was really frustrating on that moment. There were a couple of more occasions as well where he'll feel disappointed he didn't do better with in general play. There was some good stuff, especially again when we're getting to the tight spaces and he's holding players off, and I think he won a free kick in a good position, and he was actually making some really good tackles. But I think again when it came to show quality, it was a very frustrating cameo from Decky, and a lot of people are calling him out. I'm not as harsh as some of the other people that I've seen on social media on his performance, but I did think I can't get away from the fact that at crucial moments he lacked composure.
Yeah. The other subs, Højbjerg, Richarlison and Lo Celso. I thought Højbjerg came in and put in a fairly positive cameo as well. I thought he really tried to act as that driving force for Tottenham going forward. So I was happy with Højbjerg's performance. I mean, Richarlison, there was fairly... did he even have a touch, Richarlison, when he came on? I failed to see what he did.
Yeah, he had a few touches, but didn't have any shots.
Yeah. 4 touches he had. And Giovanni Lo Celso, what a great touch that was to get it to Udogie, wasn't it, in the last minute? But yeah, he didn't really have too much time. But let's finish off talking about Ange Postecoglou. We both give him a 6. And look, got to give him credit for the way he set us up, because we did dominate the game. We had about 70% possession, and if anyone looked like, we were the ones dominating the game. But he's got to figure out different solutions, how to break down these low block teams, because it seems as though an all familiar story, particularly against low blocks. And I felt the changes that he made, like Richarlison, I felt came on a bit too late. I was calling for Richarlison to come on a bit earlier. And I think the changes that he did make didn't positively really change the game. And when Kulusevski came on for Madison, I think that was when Madison was probably having his best moment in the game. So I think that change was a bit perplexing. But yeah, it was a bit of good and bad in there from Ange.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Richarlison definitely should have come earlier. His game was definitely calling for Richarlison, especially the way he plays. And that was quite frustrating that he waited to the last 10 minutes or so, or 5 minutes to bring him on. So he should have brought him on a lot earlier. For the other subs, I don't have too many complaints. I do think Madison should have stayed on for a bit longer. Maybe instead of bringing Sarr on, you could have brought Decky on for Bentancur and really gone for West Ham stroke. Maybe if we had that little bit more of ingenuity, could have broken them down. Because I felt like West Ham weren't offering too much going the other way. But I understand, with their counter-attacking options, you're always a bit wary of that. So, but maybe that was the thinking there.
Maybe he could have brought on Gio for Bentancur when he brought on Sarr.
Yeah. So maybe just gone with 2 number 10s and really taken the game to them. So that was a bit frustrating. But other than that, I thought we did play well. And I do think we were trying different avenues. It was just very, very difficult for Spurs to break him down. I don't think it was for the want of trying or trying different things. I just think on the day we weren't good enough, and I think we've got to accept that.
Yeah. All right, well, that is our player ratings. Let me know your ratings in the comment section below. But let's move on to the 5 takeaways and see what 5 things we can take away from that 1-1 draw in East London last night. And the first up, we're going to look at better Bissouma.
Yeah, and much better showing from Yves Bissouma. Ange was in high praise for him after the game, saying that he thought he was excellent, and something that Spurs fans have been calling for in recent weeks because of his maybe performances regressing since the first 10 games of the season. In the end, it was 1 tackle, 2 interceptions, 96% passing accuracy, which is a very good total. Obviously completed his only dribble, but made a number of recoveries during the game. I thought really helped nullify West Ham, and I'm really happy that Ange was heaping praise at him, because I thought it was a good display, and hopefully he carries on in this vein of form.
Yeah, and I've been heavily critical of Yves Bissouma probably since those first 10 games of the season, since those red cards, and I felt like that was probably his best display since then. Still not maybe to those levels of those first 8 games, but still a massive, massive step in the right direction. He was getting the ball, he was driving forward, he was being really hard to play against. Defensively, I thought he was spot on as well, putting out so many fires in the middle of the park. And I think it's one of the first things I said to you after we left the stadium yesterday, that was much better from Yves Bissouma today. So I think we just need to see more of the same and keep growing. If you can use that as kind of like a base performance and keep growing on that, then I won't have too many problems with Yves Bissouma. So you got to commend him for the performance that he put on the pitch last night in a hard game as well against a hard midfield. You're looking at those midfielders that they have: Paquetá, Ward-Prowse, and Souček as well. It's not an easy midfield to play against. So you got to give props to Yves Bissouma for the way he did conduct himself on the pitch last night, especially after a few hard performances and the hard moments that he's going from with a lot of criticism coming his way. But let's go on to number 2, and that is West Ham's wide threat nullified.
Yeah, and Kudus and Bowen obviously been in fine form for West Ham this season, causing a lot of teams a lot of problems. But I think credit needs to go to Porro and Udogie yesterday, because I really think they helped nullify that threat from out wide and made sure that when West Ham were on the counter or getting any sort of possession, that's not where the concerns are coming from. And I think they did that on the day. They won 13 of their 23 ground duels on the day, made 7 tackles between them, and they restricted Kudus and Bowen to only 1 key pass in open play. And no shots. Only Bowen had 1 shot throughout the whole game. Kudus didn't have a shot. So they did really struggle to impact the game offensively in the way they usually do. They're usually very effective at getting goal scoring positions, getting in effective positions, and they were heavily restricted yesterday due to the quality of our fullbacks, I felt.
Yeah, and I felt like Ange knew, I mean, it was obvious about the threat that these kind of players can pose. And I felt when we were in that defensive shape and that Porro and Udogie stayed a lot more wider maybe than they usually do. And it was to our massive success in terms of trying to deal with them. I thought Udogie and Pedro Porro both put in defensive masterclasses yesterday, both of them, but particularly Porro up against someone like Mohamed Kudus. You know, Mohamed Kudus can burn anyone, and when you're looking at Porro with a narrative around him saying he's not that good from a defensive standpoint, I thought it was probably one of our best defensive players yesterday, and Udogie as well on the other side. And there were massive reasons why they just couldn't hurt us really for the most part of the game. So massive big up to those two, and Van der Ven and Romero as well was a massive part of it. So I thought from a defensive standpoint we were much better than we have been in recent weeks coming up against top players as well. But let's move on to number 3, and that is Brennan on fire.
Yeah, and again, this time from the start, luckily he got a goal contribution. He opened the scoring with a good run across the defender, exactly what Ange has been asking him to do. That's now 6 goals and assists in his last 6 games for Spurs. So he's really consistently getting those goal contributions. Now it makes it 12 overall for the season, which actually means he's now overtaken his tally from last season for Nottingham Forest. I believe he got 11 last season. So really great stuff for Brennan Johnson, and maybe he's starting to turn the discourse around now.
I think so. I think it's something that we spoke about last week in terms of his recent performances. And again, I've been critical of Brennan Johnson this year. I've been saying he's been getting the goal contributions, but his performance level haven't been up there to match it. But I think now, in the past 4 or 5 games, you're really starting to see a massive increase in performance level and those goal contributions staying as well. So it's much to my delight. I think you're really starting to see him flourish in this Ange Ball system. And he just gives us that natural fit for what Ange wants to do on that right-hand side, much more than like a Dejan Kulusevski. If Dejan Kulusevski is starting right wing yesterday, that goal doesn't happen, in my opinion. And he stays wide as well. He gets good crosses in the box. Yesterday, that went to waste because no one was really attacking those space, and it was hard to with that West Ham low block, But I'm very, very happy with Brennan Johnson, and to bring his tally up to more goal contributions than James Madison this year, I think is brilliant for Brennan. And for a first season, looking at his age as well, I think you can only give him praise and you can only say he's going in the right direction and he keeps improving. So big up to Brennan Johnson. Let's move on to number 4, and that is that corner problem.
And Spurs yesterday conceded the equaliser yet again from a corner where Kurt Zouma's went off Kurt Zouma's back. That was the 6th goal that Spurs have conceded from corners this season. More only that comes from a 9 XG as well. So we are consistently conceding a lot of chances from corners this season, which is not it's been a bit of an Achilles heel for Spurs, and especially recently. That's now 5 games in the last 10 that Tottenham have conceded a goal from a corner, and in all competitions that is, and it has been quite costly. Drop points to the likes of Everton, knocked us out the FA Cup against Man City as well, obviously lost the game against Wolves from a corner, and now drop points against West Ham due to a goal from a corner. So it's something that we really need to try and sort out, because it's been a problem all season, and it's something that Ange has been very stubborn about, but hopefully that's something that going forward we can really sort out, because at the moment it is costing us.
Yeah, it's been a problem for us all season. I just have one request, Ange. Please go and hire a set-piece coach, because we need it. We need it desperately going forward, attacking set pieces and particularly defensive set pieces. it's hurting us too much. And if we had a set piece coach and he coached us into defending set piece as well, you never know. Look, that can happen against anyone against West Ham because they're that good at attacking set pieces. But you never know. We could have just nicked that game 1-0 yesterday. So I just have one request to Ange. Please get that set piece coach. Please, I beg you. But let's move on to the fifth and final takeaway, and that is prefer being behind.
And this is Spurs, actually. I was drilling at the stats because recently, obviously, we've all been calling for Spurs to, have faster starts. We keep falling behind. We keep having to come back. And I've been looking at how Tottenham perform in certain game states. So I've been looking at how Tottenham perform when they take an early goal, when they score first, and also how they perform when they concede first, and the results are quite interesting. When Spurs take the looks, obviously yesterday we took the lead, but ended up drawing, and a lot recently we've gone behind but ended up winning those games. So this season, when Spurs have taken the lead and gone 1-0 up, when the game is in that game state of Spurs being a goal to the good, they have created 11.48 xg but conceded 14.5 xg. When Spurs concede the first goal and are 1-0 down, they've created 13.02 xg and only conceded 5.44 xg. So I don't know what it is about this team, but we much prefer going behind. When we concede the first goal, we said we tend to up our game, and I don't know what it is about our approach, but we barely concede a chance, and we really take the game to the opposition and create a lot more chances. Take into account as well the game state of these figures. There's been about 200 more minutes while we've been 1-0 up rather than 1-0 down. So in 200 less minutes, we've created about 2 more XG in that game state when we're behind and we're leading. So I don't know what it is. And there was maybe more evidence of it yesterday, but for some reason, we don't take advantage of when we're taking the lead, and yet when we go 1-0 behind, we seem to really up our game.
Yeah, I mean, it's perplexing, to be honest, when you're looking at it. I remember a couple of years back, I can't remember if it was under Pochettino or Mourinho or whoever it was up against. Maybe it's been a constant thing with Spurs, but I just remember narratives coming from the stands being like, all right, we need to go 1-0 down to wake us up now. And then we come back and absolutely batter the team. But maybe it's just a case of when we go 1-0 up, we just seem a bit too comfortable.
We rest on our laurels.
We rest on our laurels a little bit. And then when we go 1-0 down, we're like, all right, we need to kick up the arse now. We need to go for the throat. And then we get those goals in like kind of short spurts and turn the game around. Maybe that's the case. But I mean, that's the only thing I can clutch on, really.
Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on why this season we seem to concede a lot more when we go 1-0 up. And you're thinking, when you go 1-0 up, that's where you should want the opposition, because all of a sudden they need to come out a bit, they need to leave more space, and that's exactly what you like. You like more space, but it just seems as though when we go 1-0 up, we struggle to control games as well as we go 1-0 down. We seem to have more control over it, and maybe it's a case of we're not clear in our mind what we want when we take the lead. Do we want to keep going for more goals, or is it like...
I know what Ange would say.
Yeah, obviously we want to go for more goals, but maybe we struggle to know how to go about that. Do we maintain control of the game in the same way when we go 1-0 up? Because it kind of like, when you go 1-0 down, you know what you need to do. You need to really take the game to the opposition and do those things in a certain way. But it's like almost as if like when we go 1-0 up, it's like, okay, do we want to draw them out a bit and sit back and then hit them? Or do we want to keep our boot on their neck? And I feel like maybe there's a bit of confusion there.
Yeah, potentially. It's just very frustrating, isn't it? And I said to you as well when we were leaving the stadium yesterday, like, it was so frustrating with that dominance in the first 15-20 minutes, because if we get that goal, if we get that second goal, I really felt we would have gone on and absolutely battered them yesterday. It was just unfortunate that we had to concede from that set piece and the time in the game that we did, because we were so on top, weren't we?
So maybe going forward, instead of saying, all right, I want a fast start today, we say, all right, let's go 1-0 down in the first 5 minutes and then we can go at it.
Exactly.
Just give them a goal.
You guys, just let them score in the first few minutes.
I think from kickoff for every game now, just go straight to Vicario and just give them a goal.
It's like that on FIFA when on Ultimate Team when you need to lose that game or when you should just get that game.
Just give it
straight all the way back to the keeper, own goal, and we start from here.
I think that's the best way going forward.
All right, well, that is our 5 takeaways. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you have any more takeaways from the game? Let me know in the comment section. We got a couple of super chats to get through before we go on to react. Video complete said Sonny can't play in the number 9. He can't score a header. It's true, he can't score a header, but to say he can't play number 9, I think is a bit, way too harsh on Sonny, because I do think he can play number 9. I just felt like yesterday was probably not the right game to play him number 9.
People are like every number 9 always plays like the best in every game. Like, players can have off days, strikers can have off days. Doesn't mean they can't do it. Son has 16 goal contributions in 17 games as a striker. I mean, if that means he can't play the number 9, I don't like. So you just completely take away all those goals and assists when he has played in striker. Everyone always looks at the games where he doesn't play well as evidence, but they don't look at the games where he does play well. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think he's had much more. He's had better games at number 9. He's had more better games at number 9 than he's had bad games. And that's just the reality of it. And I love Son in the number 9. I really do. But in hindsight, maybe it would have been better to maybe play him on the left yesterday and Richarlison up top from the off. Next one from Andrew Dean, member for 11 months, saying, just want to remind that Ange out, folks, to be patient. It's Ange's first season. Even Klopp, Arteta and Pep needed a few seasons to gel. Give our man time. And
who are these Ange out folks?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot in the chat, to be fair, and I think it's absolutely mad to say Ange out at this
trolls,
stage.
Surely. You can't. No one's genuinely Ange out. Surely. You've got to be a troll at this point if you're Ange out, in my opinion. Although I have seen a lot of people, again, on social media, I think we might have liked some of the tweets, like I see a lot of people suggesting, oh, we haven't played well all season, we haven't played well since the first 10 games, all this kind of stuff. I do think it's a bit ridiculous, but I think maybe the consistency hasn't quite been there for a while, and I think that's a fair thing to throw at us. But we're still a work in progress, and I'm seeing a lot of good things from Spurs, in my opinion.
To say we haven't played well since those first 10 games of the season is massively disingenuous. But to say that we haven't reached those levels that we've had in the first 10 games of the season, there's a case to say that. But it's been very stop and start. Those first 10 games of the season, we were top of the league unbeaten.
Same 11 every game.
Exactly. No injuries, fresh squad. It was unbelievable. We haven't reached those levels, I don't think, since then. But we've had, I think it's only recently in the last couple of weeks we've started to get our first team back, like our whole complete 11 back. So it's been harsh on Ange because, we were top of the league unbeaten and then suddenly his whole team gets wiped out.
And it's not just that, as you say, it's also a first season. Just because you have a good start doesn't mean there won't be challenges after that which you have to overcome, not just injury-wise, but, teams start to figure how you're going to play. So you have to adapt to how they're now combating you, and that leads to different challenges. And it was obviously always going to get harder as, after that initial period. It was great that we started that way, very unexpectedly, but that wasn't to say that that's how then we should expect us to play for the whole season just because we have that period. It's his first season. Everything's always going to be a work in progress. There's always going to be issues to figure out. Players are still learning the system, all that kind of stuff. And I think we're in a very good position. And there's going to be days like yesterday, and there's going to be days like the Villa as well. That's how it goes in the first 10 games the first season when it's a new manager and a completely different way of playing. So for me, I'm being patient. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and people just need to realise where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. But let's go and see how the internet did react to the game last night. First up, we got the Spurs Express. Harry Kane congratulates Heung-min Son on making 400 appearances for Spurs last night. It's Son put out on Instagram saying 400 appearances at our club is a special milestone and really proud for me and my family. Last night was not the result, and then he went on to talk about that, and then Harry Kane just commented saying, congrats, brother.
Nice moment for Kane. Another assist. Lovely. But yeah, look, it breaks my heart a bit that he's saying it from Bayern Munich, but it's what it is. What can I say?
HMS Top Son shows a clip of Heung-min Son after the game last night. He looked angry, shouting at all his teammates, saying, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" The tweet says, "Sonny is mad as F."
He's shouting at Richarlison. Is he shouting at Rishi?
Didn't it? It's like Romero as well.
Romero as well. He's getting involved. Look, this is something that a lot of people say that Sonny doesn't have in him. You know, he's too much Mr. Nice Guy. He's not he's not the kind of leader who will have a go at his teammates. But there's evidence that look, I've seen him a few times this season have a real go at someone if it feels like they're not doing the right thing. So for me, I think Son is a proper leader. He's not just one of these guys who. Yes, he is nice, and that's how he likes to lead, generally, supporting other players and being very supportive in general. But he also has it in him to call people out and be critical of people if he feels that he needs that. They need that. And maybe yesterday there was more frustration or anything, but that also shows that side to him.
Yeah, and I love to see it. Squawker say Brennan Johnson has now been directly involved in more Premier League goals for Tottenham, 12 in 24 games, than he was in Nottingham Forest, 11 in 41 games. He now has 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 7 Premier League appearances. So Brennan really growing in this Spurs shirt.
Yeah, and really, really positive. So more goal contributions now than than he had in the season, which made us decide to spend 50 million on him. So that's really positive. And seeing how young he is, and he's already starting to get these consistent goal contributions. Hopefully, he's only going to get better and better as well. So that's really, really encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. Jayco says, miss you to Gianni Vio.
Yeah, I think we all do, man. Honestly. What I'll do to have him back. Bring back Vio. We need a set piece coach.
Apparently he's just taken a job at the American national team or some national team.
He moves around a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, bring him back is what I say. Whose idea was it to get rid of him? Because he didn't leave with Conte, didn't he? He left after Conte left, like at the beginning of this season.
It was weird. There was never really announced he was leaving. I don't know if he felt like he'd been here for 2 years or something, so now he needs to leave. But I think it was a bad decision to get rid of him, considering how we're performing at the moment from set pieces.
Yeah. Zara says Captain Son looked so proud of Brennan yesterday, and look at these images, unbelievable stuff. Sonny delighted.
It was a great
Brennan.
moment, and I love those hugs from Son.
Captain material human Son. Kuti Romero says thank you for the fans for always supporting. Now to continue working and give you the best in what remains all together as always. And if you just scroll through these pictures of Kuti Romero last night, I thought it was a leader's performance from him as well. Yeah,
I thought he had a really good game, and I thought on the ball especially he was brilliant, but unfortunately we didn't get the result. We didn't make the most of his good moments, but I thought another good game for Romero, who I think's been playing well for a while now.
Yeah. Zara, this is Son with his 2 bodyguards in Romero and
no one screwing with Son when they got those 2 on. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Sam Dean says Tottenham's last 4 results: batter Villa away from home, get thrashed by Fulham, scrape past Luton, and produce a pretty uninspiring draw at West Ham. All feels a bit patchy. Signs of a developing team. The early season consistency has totally gone.
I mean, that's true. The consistency and performance that we saw in those first 10 games is not there at the moment. I do think it's a sign of a developing team. I think it's a sign of a work in progress. I think that's how it goes for a lot of teams at this current stage. And in fact, I think I would argue it usually goes a lot worse than for a lot of teams at this current stage. Very, very rarely does a team at this stage in their process does it go a lot better than than this. So for me, I'm pretty comfortable where we're at. I think I'm willing to be patient. But yeah, it's frustrating that we had those performances early on, and we haven't been able to kick on from there, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that.
It's important to put things into perspective, isn't it? Like at the beginning of the season, you're losing Harry Kane on the eve of the season. You've got pretty much the starting 11 was a whole completely new 11 that had never played together. Van der Ven and Romero never played together. Udogi's first season. Porro just came at the back end of last season. You're looking at the midfield. Bissouma was in and out last season, didn't get any consistent runs. Papsar, it's his first real breakout season as well. He hardly played a Premier League minute before that. Brennan Johnson's new. So many new players, trying to fit and gel all these players. And on top of that, you've got a new manager, a new system. Everything is brand new. And then we start a season like we did. Everyone was expecting ups and downs this season. When the ups and downs, and particularly the downs, actually happen, people are like, all right, what's going on here? Is Ange fit for purpose and all this kind of stuff? It's absolutely ridiculous. So you've got to realise where you're at the stage of a football club. the way we're progressing. And when you look at the whole season, the season as a whole, yes, maybe we haven't been consistent like as we were in the first 8 to 10 games of the season. But let's be real, like how many games have we actually been proper outclassed in this season? You're looking at the Fulham game, you're looking at the Brighton game, and potentially maybe the 2 Wolves games. But apart from that, have we been outclassed in any other game?
Yeah, it's been all those other games have been very close. Or if not, we've probably been the better side. So I completely agree, and I think that's a very important perspective.
Opta Joe says 20 out of 20. Tottenham are just the 4th side to gain at least 20 points from winning positions, 22, and drop at least 20 points from winning positions, 20 in a Premier League season after Southampton in 94-95, Everton in 12-13, and Tottenham in 12-13. Roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think that also goes to show the up and down nature of a bit of how we've been playing. And I think that will stabilise once we... once there's more time under Ange Postecoglou, a few more signings, the system gets refined a bit. I think all those things will come. It's good that we're able to come back from behind. It's not good that we keep giving away points from winning positions. But I think that will sort out. I think we can handle that.
The Spurs Watch tweeted out last night saying Kulusevski is absolutely useless, and Alex THFC responded to that saying the standards are ridiculously high on Kulusevski. If we expect him to hit Richarlison with a perfect cross at this point, it was shit, but let's be realistic. Kulusevski is not the reason why we didn't win, but it suits the agenda, I guess. And I agree that Kulusevski is not the reason that we didn't win that game yesterday, but he does need to be doing better.
Yeah, but I don't like this pile-on. Like,
I agree.
Like,
I don't
you know
like
what I
it
mean? Yes, it was a bad moment for him. Don't get me wrong. I was frustrated, but like, you know, I think people make a good point. Like, everyone sort of like send support to Richarlison about, you know, he's talking about mental health and all this stuff, and then people are happy to pile on in moments like that, as if players don't see that and as if they don't feel like it's going to affect them and things like that. Look, maybe Kulusevski will look at that and think and use that as fuel, as motivation to improve and get better. But a lot of players might look at that. I don't know how their mentality is. A lot of players might look at that and think, I am doing shit. You know, I'm not doing very well, and it can really get into their head. And I don't like to see that. They need support in those kind of moments. Yes, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say that was fine what Kulusevski did. I don't even think he needed to cross it to Richarlison. He could have held the ball up. You see, we got a lot of players in support there. So yes, I know he needs to be doing better, but I don't like tweets like that. Kulusevski's useless. People like calling him out, saying he's rubbish, all that kind of stuff, and then like as if they're trying to drag him down or something. I don't like that at all. I think it's a really terrible way to use this platform. It's
the mentality in this day and age. You know, a couple of bad performances and you're literally and public enemy number one. And it's ridiculous. Like, it's all right to criticize. Criticizing is fine, but to do that pile on and say this and that and keep going and non-stop, I think it's just so over the top, and it doesn't need to happen. For me, Kulusevski is a quality player. I love Kulusevski, and I know I've given him a lot of stick this season in terms of what he does from the right wing, but that doesn't take away from the fact I know what qualities he has, and I know he can be a top player for us. I just don't think it can be from the right wing. I'd much prefer him to move in those central areas, and he got that chance yesterday, albeit not for a very long time because he did move out to the right-hand side. But to say that a lot of people I'm seeing like Kulusevski is absolutely useless, he's by far useless. He's a quality player with the attributes that he does have. Let's be real.
If you tweet that saying, you know, Kulusevski's got to do better here or something like that, that's different. But then you're tweeting out something literally just attacking him, I think is completely uncalled for.
Yeah. THFC Cho saying Werner's shimmy to his left, and this is LeBron.
Unstoppable. Just as good as LeBron, I think. I think he does it better, in my opinion.
Much better.
Unstoppable. The GOAT, Timo Werner. Love that.
Yido90 says, can anyone hand on heart say that they're enjoying watching this Spurs side?
See, this is what I don't like. I am enjoying it. Yes, there are some performances which, like yesterday, is frustrating, but I am genuinely enjoying watching Spurs. Like on the weekend, I enjoyed our performance. We created lots of chances. We should have won the game all comfortably. And then you're going to have games like Fulham where it wasn't good and I didn't enjoy it. But by and large this season, most games have been very exciting, a lot of great attacking football, and it's been very enjoyable to watch. That Villa game was very, very enjoyable to watch. Like the City game when we drew 3-3 with the Etihad, the Arsenal game in the Emirates, brilliant games of football where we played great stuff and went toe-to-toe with some great teams. Like, I hate tweets like this where people are just like trying to put some weird narrative that like it's been terrible the whole season and like, you know, and I haven't joined watching Spurs at all. Like come on guys, like yes, it wasn't the result we wanted, but I don't get these kind of narratives people try to twist on it.
And this is on the back of watching like drab Conte, Stellini and Mason ball last season. Like it's 10 times better than what we saw last season. Let's be real. And yes, there has been games and we haven't been at our fluid best for a while now. That's got to be true. But there are moments in games that get you off your seat. And in every game, there's at least moments where we put some really nice patterns of play together and you can see the nucleus of a team really coming together and start to see, you know, getting back to those first 10 games of the season, getting back to being at our fluid best. And I think don't judge Ange until we're halfway through next season or even by the end of next season, because I think that's when you're going to see the real Ange ball come out. Spurs talk show, Sean Butler put out a tweet yesterday saying we have a shot-shy squad. Horseshoe football, looking at the perfect moment, is a problem. We were the better team, dominating possession. We deserve more from this crucial game. And I just wish our attacking players have more desire to take shots in wet conditions to see what happens from the inevitable pinball that does happen from those moments.
Yeah, I think that's also a good point. I think we should be trying like a bit more, just because it can force situations. Just like that right at the end, Kulusevski whips in that cross, you know, falls to Lo Celso, who plays it to Udogie and just forces something, you know what I mean? And as you say, as Sean is saying here, if you take long shots, what do they say? You don't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. That kind of thing.
You don't buy a ticket if you don't win the raffle. You don't
win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket.
Win, yeah, exactly. You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket.
So, like, I think we need to be doing a bit more of that. Like, even if it doesn't seem on, just try something a bit outside the box. Try and force a bit of a pinball situation, as he's saying. Try and force your luck. Make your own luck. And maybe that's something that we didn't do enough yesterday, trying to make our own luck. But also on the flip side, just because you try and make your own luck doesn't mean you get it all the time.
Yeah. But, you know, you got to take a bit of risk sometime. And this is what I was saying in the match review. Like, sometimes it's just always us trying to play that perfect Ange ball goal, get winger to winger, get crosses in the box. But sometimes, you know, just take a pop shot from 30 yards. We've got the players to do it. We've got the quality. We've got the individual quality to do it. So why not try it more than we do? Perplexes me. But anyway, Lily White Lab says those games will never suit Son as a 9. Just didn't give their centre-backs anything to think about. Would have had Rishi on a lot earlier. For what it's worth, that matchup really doesn't suit our current side, so I'm not fuming at this point. Our front three are improving, but lack of retention really does harm our ability to control longer periods of the match. Bentancur slowly getting back to his best, so silky in possession. Porro, on the other hand, I've been disappointed with recently, pretty wasteful in the final third. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Pedro Porro, I thought second half against Luton was like him coming back to really into fruition into those attacking areas. But I agree with him, in the last like 3 or 4 games he hasn't been as effective on an attacking standpoint that maybe he has been for the most of the season.
Yeah, I think in the final third yesterday he was pretty wasteful, albeit he had Kudus to deal with, and I thought he dealt with them pretty well, so he deserves credit for that. I agree with the Bentancur point. I do think he's slowly getting back to his best, albeit again there were some sloppy moments, but when he was looking on it, he was looking really, really great, so that's really good. That is something I've pointed out about our front three. Sometimes when it's Werner and Johnson on the wing, they give the ball away a bit too much and then it keeps the ball coming back. Actually, I didn't feel like that was a problem yesterday, to be honest. I actually thought they kept the ball pretty well. I don't think they were giving the ball away constantly, so maybe that's something they're getting better at. But still, I feel like they kept the ball in those situations, especially in Werner's case, but without really doing much. They'll keep the ball and pass it back. Whereas I feel like when someone like Decky's there, he can keep it and actually, put a cross in or do something. So that's something to look out for. And then the Son point, these games never suit Son. Yeah, it didn't suit Son yesterday, that's for sure. I do think when Son is at his sharpest, he can still have a role to play in these kind of games. If he's at his best, he can get the ball very quickly out of his feet and get a shot off very quickly. But in games like yesterday, sometimes when he's crowded out and if he's looking for that extra second on the ball or half second, then it's going to be very, very difficult for him, and it definitely was yesterday. I think in general, you probably want someone with a bit more physicality in a number 9 in that kind of game, so it's probably a decent point. But I do think we have seen games as well where Son has made a bit of an impact. But I do think by and large in these kind of games, it's always going to be a bit more struggle for him.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that it took him so long to recognise that and so long to bring on a Richarlison, like so long. When you could see the fans were calling for it for a while, weren't they? Getting that Richarlison song going. THFC report just bringing all the Spurs players walking off after the game looking dejected, really. They know they should have won that game last night.
Yeah, I think it's good that they didn't think the point was a good point. Like, they're happy that I'm happy that they're disappointed at the point rather than I don't want them coming away with thinking, oh, it's a fine result, whatever. I think you can see after the game that they thought they should have been doing better. So that's hopefully going to drive them on to improve. And I think that's a good mentality to have.
Yeah. Back on the point, by the way, the previous thing with the front three, I know Werner didn't have the greatest game last night, but I know I said it to you last night, but I'm starting to warm to him. I really am. I like his mentality. I really do. I like what he offers in terms of, you know, getting down the byline, that shift out to the left and getting balls in the box. I think he creates at least like one big chance every single game. And as long as he's not brought in as our first choice starting left winger next season, I'm warming to the idea of taking up that 15 million shot for him.
Yeah, as I say, if it's him plus another one, it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not going to be that disappointed. I do think he has a use, to be honest. I do like him. But as you say, if we're signing him thinking he's going to take us to the next level, I think that would be a mistake.
But as a squad player, I think he would be really good. And last but not least, but that's it for reacts, by the way. I was going to go last but not least in terms of super chat we've got here from D. Sinclair. With our first choice back five, played 17, won 11, drawn 6, scored 32 and against 16.
So say that again.
With our first choice back five, played 17, won 11, drawn 6. So we've unbeaten.
That's incredible. That's pretty good. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, because Van der Ven came out.
Has Van der Ven not been on a losing side yet?
No, because we lost to Fulham, and he wasn't playing. Before then, when was our last loss before that?
I'm just trying to look. I'm sure Van der Ven, didn't he lose a game recently?
We lost to Wolves. Was he playing against Wolves?
He played against Man City.
He did play
against Wolves.
He did play against Wolves.
But the fullbacks didn't play against Wolves.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, yeah, that's spot on then. To be fair, though,
all the other games, yeah.
Against Chelsea, we did have our first choice back four, but
we
weren't
losing. But when they were there,
yeah,
they, like when we weren't.
But Van der Ven went off injured after half an hour, and Udoka got sent off just after half time,
and we were drawing at that point. Yeah. So I think that makes sense. So with our first choice, we are unbeaten. That's pretty mad.
Apart from Man City in the cup, but that's a cup game.
We had our first choice back four then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was like a 1-0 loss against the treble-winning champions in the last minute. So in the league, I can't believe it. It's actually mad. We're unbeaten with our first choice back four. That goes to show the potential of this team. It's a good point. All right. Well, there you have it. That is our stream for you guys post-match of the 1-1 frustrating draw at West Ham last night. Thank you, everyone, for watching us today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.